Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Paradox of Perception, Part 5. And I have a question. Is humanity savable? Is it worth saving? Yeah. Yeah. And this is what I'm interested in. And it's as worthy as any other endeavor, right? This is my passion. My gifts allow me to make this deep delve into anything, right? And of course, I'm going to apply it to our civilization. And this is what I've been doing. This format today is different, back to the rhyming scheme, and it includes a little bit of my story. So that you can know, right, a little bit more about me and my journey. And so here we go. Suffering has no spectrum, no comparing pain. Who feels it knows it. I want to tell you so you can know what made me grow. Look, I've been overlooked, passed over, set up, laughed at, scoffed at, refused, unused, defamed, my place in line rearranged, neglected, abused, rejected, misused, left out, let go, excluded, exploited, counted out, cast out, unhoused, exiled, fumbled, and falsely reported. But I'm thankful for that. Nothing but grateful. If left unopposed, I'd have made a bundle, but never been humbled. If I'd been included, recognized, then the veil over my eyes would not have been lifted. It's irony that my given objective could have been blocked if only I had been accepted. But my roots are deep now, branches extended. I cannot be stopped, I'm running point now. That's why you see my words have gravity. What happened to me through forge and anvil, my clarity has been crafted, heated, battered, drawn and quartered, pressed and quenched, over and around, cut, shaped, edged, and stone ground to an atom's width, then polished. Now I'm beautiful and dangerous, designed to be wielded by spirit. Be still, you're not my target. I destroy lies, not liars. You were fed thoughts and didn't know I was made to cut your bonds and douse the fires. It's not your fault you ate the inedible, bought the credible with no grain of salt. Nothing to do but stand beside me, because you are me, you see. We are what we behold. Look, one step together and we're over the threshold. Yeah, threshold, right? It's an escape from the cycle, right? That our civilization has repeated over and over and over. And so that doesn't mean we escape, right, to some other dimension, although we will be able to be aware of the intangible, right, of the invisible and the inaudible, right, that comes from those three things, all of them, right, the untouchable, right, the unseeable, and the unhearable, all comes from the higher dimensions. So when we make this transition, this psychological transformation, right, which transforms our body into a full perception apparatus, right, then we can operate in co-creation and reestablish the sacred, our sacred purpose, right, as a collective. And so those of you who have had a hard time like me, right, right, that shit fucking made you badass, right? Be thankful for that. And it took me a long time. Like, I've been like, what the fuck, man? You know, all these years. And now I'm finally like, okay, finally, right? Everything in the proper timing. And for those of you who have had a cakewalk, right, you will want to defend the cycle, right? But if you're here, then something is telling you that you need to update, right? You need more information. And so when you perceive holy, when you can let go of this constant defense of your separate self, right, which we have discovered from part 1 through 4 that it's impossible, right? That's impossible. And the reason the cycle perpetuates, right, is that we are trying to maintain the impossible, which is a divided, separate awareness from the whole, right? We've discovered that this is impossible. And so, yeah, so we can do it, right? And this information, right, it's 30 plus years for me, right? I mean, since I was a kid, really, you know, this, I've been like, okay, I'm different, right? And I didn't come here for this regular kind of life, you know? And so none of us did, and none of us did, right? Some of us are here to plant the seed, right? That wouldn't have the faculties, right? We have the faculties to do that, right? But we're all chosen, right? This is the collective. If operating in each of us operating in a whole manner, and then on aggregate, we change the pattern. And so the collective will reestablish our sacred nature, right? And that's what we're intended to do, and that's what everything is intended to block us, right? And so learning the hard way, which is what that first part, I had to learn the hard way, right? And we all have learned the hard way, right? And when people talk about we can only learn the hard way, you know, humanity can only learn the hard way. All the last 6,000-7,000 years has been learning the fucking hard way, right? We don't need a fucking global calamity, right, to bring us together. It has been all of this time, right? As above, so below, right? The collective exhibits this pattern that each of us are operating on internally, which is this constant conflict. So we can do it, right? We just break down this internal conflict inside of us, right? And the whole way we relate to everything changes. And if we all do it together, then the pattern is changed, right? And we break the cycle. It's not that fucking hard. And whole perception is enlightenment, right? It's not something that is inaccessible to you or anyone. And achieving it doesn't make you think you're special, right? And it actually allows you to recognize the truth, right? Which is that consciousness is inseparable, right? And we are all this one thing, right? And we have this gift, right? To be able to experience this place, right? And it's been captured, right? Our gift has been captured and put in chains and curtailed, right? And that is the cycle, right? And we can break it, right? And reestablish what we're supposed to be doing, you know? And that's the paradox of perception, right? Is that what I've been explaining. So watch, you know, the previous parts, right? And this is the last of this paradox of perception series, but I won't stop because there's always a new angle. There's always another way to explain it. But once you realize you don't need to be explained, you don't need it explained anymore, you know? And that's why this kind of talk shuts down the conversation, right? That's why when I go on a podcast, I don't get asked back, right? Because a podcast business model is conversation that never stops. And that's what I'm tired of. Let's talk about fucking our projects, right? Not about our fucking problems, right? And how to fucking put a band-aid over the symptoms that are caused by this root fucking problem that I've identified, right? And it's not just me, right? I know you're out there, right? So we can actually build something, right, that that is the embodiment, right, in the 3D of what we're supposed to be, what we have always been, right? What is here still, but only fucking anemic and held down, right? Put in a cage on a hamster wheel, right? And so what's being attempted is to put us into a better slaughterhouse, right? An automated slaughterhouse that keeps us in this position forever, right? And that is the urgency. But taking it too seriously, right, is what diverts us from our ability to actually solve the problem, right? So, get ready. So let us review. We've discovered that what's objective is what is without perspective, without perception. But we cannot know the world without our senses, so we simulate objectivity by homogenizing point of view. We cannot remove perception but through duplication of results from all points of reference. We find this works well enough to define a consensus we can trust, to categorize the properties of matter, standardize the units of measurement, and uncover a universal numerical language with which to catalog an inventory of changes. Knowledge, referenced, applied to produce products whose value proves worth the investment. Value is a strange attractor with a galvanizing effect. People orbit it to access the benefit. With this, it's clear that knowledge is power. This is where the removal of perception, though, becomes a deception. The application has been verified. The relative value of applied knowledge has been seized. People are of one mind. There is no objection, no question. Perception has conceded. Consensus is all that is needed for belief. The unification of perspective removes perception from the collective. The institution of duplication applied to people establishes a condition, a criteria of recitation. If met, unlocks the authorization of credit. Completion of a repeatable procedure grants the license of merit. Credentials, signed, sealed, and delivered. Verified credibility, a stamp of approval. Certified for the induction of replicated thinking without relativity, dictating perspective with no variability, replacing perception with recognition of authority, guarantees the absence of our senses, the unification of perspective, manufactured consensus, restricts access to knowledge to the hands of credibility, replacing objectivity with believability. In this way, the masses are unified under the rule of the qualified, ensuring that new sources of value cannot arrive from outside. All sources are internalized, institutionalized, modified, and standardized, and classified as suitable or shelved as inscrutable. And so we are trained to believe and not to know, hamstringing our nature, curtailing our ability to grow, competing with our neighbor for benefits bestowed, for conformity, maintaining the uniformity of thought, confirming that we never remember what we forgot. That unification only comes from the condition of separation. If we are always one from the beginning, there's no justification for consolidation. The exchange of value is what brings us together. We cannot live without sharing energy and information with each other. This network is still there, under the surface, but it's ill-formed and malnourished, delayed, restrained, and discontinuous. All that must be done to break the chains is to recognize the universality of consciousness. This requires no belief, because belief in it is its denial, a refutation through declaration of separateness. You don't have to believe you exist, but you do have to believe you're independent from the whole, because that's impossible. This will allow you to see clearly, not take things so seriously, detach from how you think things should be, and allow what is to make space for what will be. Take action with acausality and so create effortlessly. Interrelate with keen vitality and shed all attachment to conditionality. Hear the silence and so be alert to any disturbance, adjusting seamlessly to all interference, setting the stage for the scalar rearrangement of society back to its original setting. restoration of the sacred human web through which we are all interconnected.